Welcome back. We've got a fantastic conversation this week. A couple of things came back from history and came back to the forefront of consciousness for everybody.
Mm.
If you recall, that might be something that might be worth talking about. A couple other things hit this week that I think is very important. I want to get everybody's conversation on this, especially you that's listening. Please put some comments. We'd love to see what you guys are wanting to add to this, or maybe take us in a new thought process. Well, with me today, I'm John. We've got Mike.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
We've got Jackson.
Hey, how's it going?
And as always, Artie.
It's all right.
We wouldn't be able to do this without him. As a matter of fact, if he wasn't here, we wouldn't be here. So, I guess he's the linchpin.
I was about to say that it makes me sound like a progenitor.
Use the power wisely. So, we've got a couple conversations. Recall is up. We also got a thing this week. I was watching John Hammond, and he blew a gasket online. That was interesting.
Really?
Mike, I think you watched that before all of us. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
I just saw it earlier today, actually. So, very interesting stuff going on.
Good video.
Yep. Artie, what else is on deck?
I believe there's the well, last week there was a phishing attempt. I think it was last week. That got one of the biggest people in cybersecurity to fall for it, and it was just like, proving that you don't. You can be as intelligent, you can be as secure as you want, but you can still fall for a well-crafted phishing email.
Well, let's talk about that. Troy Hunt is definitely one of the biggest proponents for paying attention. He's probably more paranoid than all of us put together as to opening an email, and they got him. It's one of the things we offer our customers is if you have signed up with Wow Support, we offer free email checks. Customers can send us anything that looks suspicious. We'll check it out, make sure that it's legit or not. But how do you spot a fake email, Jackson? How do you find out just by looking at it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go simple levels. Let's go 10 years ago.
All right.
What were the
10
ways to
years
track?
ago, usually it's going to be in the sending address. The sending address will not come from, like, let's just say you're getting an email from Google or maybe Microsoft. The email address will either have something completely unrelated or something will be like misspelled. Same goes for even just headlines and content. Is it an old logo? Is it the current logo? Is it the correct logo? Is the email properly formatted? Is it grammatically correct? Those are kind of the obvious big alarms that kind of go off in my head when I'm looking at an email. Then if you go a little bit deeper, thinking about the content of that message, what is it asking me to do? What is it trying to inform me of? And is this the way that I should be contacted about this, right? Usually that's kind of a sure way for me when I find out, this doesn't seem like a normal, email notification that I owe, $5,000. I'm supposed to pay it in gift cards or whatever.
So if I sent you an email from a brand new Gmail account asking you to go buy gift cards,
it's going in the trash.
I mean,
yeah,
other
those
thing
were
is-
kind
filters
of
work,
easy to catch.
They would just go right into the trash immediately as flagged for spam, because the algorithms they've got set up in, like Microsoft 365 or Outlook and Gmail and Yahoo and all the other mail services that are out there as a wide provider, they tend to have the algorithm set up to catch specific wording, specifically crafted emails. And it also relies on the ones that get through, people reporting them as spam, because then their little AI will scan the thing and say, okay, this is what we found in this one. Look out for this in other mails in the future. And it's also why when you craft yourself a non-spam message, it can still be flagged as spam because you are mirroring some of the false flags that come up, or not false flags, but you are mirroring some of the red flags that come up in the email messages.
Mike, do you have any stories from back in the day?
I've had that happen to me where I've had keywords. There's certain keywords I was using in an email, and the recipient's mail server was on a very tight security policy, and so my keywords got picked up as potential spam, so they were not getting any of my messages.
Actually, had somebody come up to me and
it took a few days to figure that out.
yeah, before AI, I had people come up to me and say, "Can't the computer figure out what's real and what's not?" It's like, well, first off, it doesn't know your contact list like you know your contact list. It doesn't know the context of your boss buying or asking you to buy gift cards. Maybe. Just got to pay attention. So what's the new one look like?
From what I've seen, the new ones, they're pretty good. It's pretty easy to spoof a logo, pretty easy to get an email address that looks legit. Some things that I've seen are now they just want you to click on a link, right? They want you to go somewhere, and that will either download something or maybe it'll even take you to login page. And sometimes those login pages are also designed quite nicely. It's not that hard to pull the HTML of a company's login page and just make a copy of it, right? So I mean, everything can look legit, but the other thing I was going to say is if there are links in that email, I'm always going to hover over that link and look at where it's going to take me. Don't click on it, but you can hover over that link and see where the address is destined to go. And that will usually be a pretty big tell.
You remember that one I shared in the all company meeting this week?
Yeah.
I got one from Verizon just for the listeners. It looked 100% legitimate if you read it. The only two telltale signs was it was a CSV file attached, like an Excel file. And then every hyperlink went to the same address, whether it was contact us or click for access to your account. But the domain was VerizonWireless.com. It was from the system. It put phone numbers to get to Verizon. Everything was 100% spot on, except for those links and the attachment.
And how often because I was just thinking about this, how often is it that a company will actually send you an attachment in the email? Usually they'll have you log in and download it from their servers, right?
Well, it used to be quite common that somebody would attach a PDF and send it saying, here's your invoice or here's your shipping, here's your tracking information.
That's true.
And then
if you're expecting it, then yeah. But if you're not expecting it, like, it's an email that says we recently detected some activity. Here is a report. Like, I'll log in to see the report. I don't need an attachment sent right to me. Right at that point.
And I would think that they as a company, from a company standpoint, if you have millions of clients, you don't necessarily want your email server just automatically sending out a ton of files all the time. Like, that's a lot of bandwidth. That's a lot of storage. It's probably redundant anyway. So
it used to be, though.
Yeah, any sort of like file is usually, unless, like what you're saying, unless you're expecting it, I don't see any reason why any company should be sending me a file unsolicited.
Right. But
so what's in the CSV then?
I don't know. I didn't open it.
What do you think was in the CSV?
I'm sure there was a link to some site to load the beginning of a chain of attack. So virus scanners will open up those files and look at it and see if there's anything dangerous. If there's anything obvious, it gets rid of it. But if it's the first of like a dozen steps to say, okay, save to disk, but reference this, and then that reference pulls down something else that has a link, you can slowly add in all the pieces of an attack vector.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 2 years ago tactic, is slowly spoon feed the malware into the system. Now you got bad guys using AI to write the content of an email. We got the ability to spoof addresses. You can use like Cyrillic letters versus all those other languages. Put them in for the .com. And so your I is no longer the same as the I that's in the email. It's kind of frightening.
And I
What do you mean by
remember
that?
one that was common was lowercase l is the same as a capital I, so they would just swap those interchangeably.
Yeah, depending on your font, especially. Yep. Which I'm always, when I'm sending information to customers, even to other people, if I'm sending like information that needs to be typed in exactly, like if it's an email address, I like to change that font to like a monospace font that has distinctive characters for each, distinctive glyphs for each character is, I guess, what I should say. So a 0 is definitely a 0. An L looks one way as opposed to a capital I as opposed to the number 1, so on and so forth.
So the opposite of a CAPTCHA.
Yeah. I mean, I want people to see it and understand it so that they type in the right thing. And I almost would wish that Outlook and other email clients in the header would show those email addresses in the same way. I want it in very distinct letter forms and glyphs that I can recognize and say, oh, that's not from Microsoft. That's from M and then some funky character that looks like an I, CROSOFT, whatever. And that way I could decide, oh, that's probably not real. That's probably fake.
Mm-hmm.
So we should start using Comic Sans.
Maybe?
No.
Wingdings?
Anything that's got a serif font would be preferable over a sans serif, just because the letters are more distinct, usually.
Yeah, ICANN has actually been trying to crack down on the names, prevent I'm going to say this wrong. The type of letters that we use, they're trying to lock it down so just that kind of letter or very distinct glyphs would be allowed, so you can't get the crossover. So
allowed in what? What would they have that jurisdiction over? I guess.
Oh, they're the ones that control the names.
The domain names, yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And basically, right now, isn't it like basically anything UTF-8 is game on?
But they're reining that in because there's a lot of overlap on those, which is good. They open it up so other languages can have .coms, but there's risk and there's unintended consequence.
Not that I could actually type that on my keyboard very easily, but
nope. But there's other keyboards that have it. Just that's the letter.
Yeah.
My kids and now my wife, they're learning Korean. It's interesting to watch them type Korean on the phone. You type a couple common symbols and bang, there's I'm going to say the glyph, for lack of a better word. My kids are cringing listening to this right now. You're saying it wrong, Dad. Yep. There's Chinese and simplified Chinese. Simplified brought it down to a manageable number of characters. Your traditional Chinese had something like 3,000 characters.
Holy cow.
You got to memorize each one.
No, 3,000 is what's borrowed by Japan. It's closer to 12,000.
I was going to say it's probably more.
But you can
That's
say
ridiculous.
more
It'll be a
with
test on
3
Friday, Jackson.
characters than you can with 3 characters in English.
Artie's going to put a pre-test, post-test for us.
I only know the basic kana and a few kanji in Japanese.
It's more than me. I can't even get the numbers right.
Counting is different
Mhm.
because there's a different counting method and different counting word based upon what you are counting. So if it's people, it's one thing. If it's like sheets of paper, it's another thing. If it's like balls or globes, different method.
That's ridiculous.
Only
It's all about
because
context,
you did not
right?
grow up with it. It's like
Yeah.
there are some things that we know intrinsically because we grew up with English. Like you can have a great green dragon, but a green great dragon just sounds off.
Mhm.
I'll
Somebody
take any
showed
dragon as
me-
long as it pays attention to me, obeys me.
Somebody showed me before, like the order of, like if you wanted to say 5 great green dragons, or like I don't know. There's so many descriptive words or types of descriptive words, and somebody had made like the standard English order, and there's like I don't know 20 different things you could put in, and then somebody made a sentence using all of them. It was pretty funny.
It's like
Yeah,
the
it's like
order
if
of
you-
adjectives, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
if you put anyone out of order, it's like we all immediately know
So
that it's off.
No, we got something relatable in English. Commas.
Oxford or regular?
Always Oxford.
Shatner,
Oh.
comma. There's always a comma in my sentence.
So with the adjectives, you've got opinion, size, quality, shape, age, color, origin, material, type, purpose. And it always
And
goes
don't
in that
confuse
order.
them.
And if you go out of that order, you sound like a lunatic.
Is there a sentence that somebody used all of them? Oh, here you go. Cheap, big, old, curly, red French wood kitchen. Now here's the out of order. Red, curly, cheap, big, old, wood French kitchen. not
Both
that
of
the
them
first one
sound
made much sense
ridiculous,
anyway.
actually,
I wonder if there's the one that would sound even slightly normal.
Now, what's funny about this is for years, this was one way that you could tell if emails were coming across from people that didn't have English as their first language and they were trying to scam you. It's like, disbelievable bargain. Click here.
Disbelievable bargain. That's pretty good.
Click here to know more.
Or just click here to know.
Yeah.
No more click yonder.
Well, I mean, with this next generation of stuff, I think best advice I got for you guys: stay skeptical. Don't trust it. Check it out. Don't click any of the links. But
What do I do if I have to click a link? What do I do? What if I'm worried? What if my security is at risk and I need to click on that link? Where do I go?
no, don't click the link. Go to the site directly in Chrome or Internet Explorer. Click on it. Click onto your web browser, not the email link, because that will absolutely take you down a path you don't want. But just go to VerizonWireless.com and sign in directly instead of following the links that are making it easy for you to follow the warning on the page.
And something else to be worried about is that even just by clicking the link, it can still run a script as you're following the link and opening the page that will download a partial payload and sometimes even execute it. It's why you don't click the links in any of these emails, is you don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah, if you've ever seen a computer guy sit down at a machine and just like open up the run CMD, and now they got a command prompt, they type something real fast. I mean, you've seen me do that. You guys have done that. It's gonna happen in seconds. That's just using human fingers. If you got a script, it'll happen faster than you imagine. If the script minimizes the window that just opened, all you see is a flash.
Or it opens it in like X9000 by Y9000 on your desktop. So it's open, but there's no way you can see it.
Or now with Windows 11, your second desktop or your third desktop. You'll never see that.
Mm-hmm.
You guys use multiple desktops?
I do. I usually separate my code out from my chat, from my documents, from my other things. Depends. Sometimes.
I'm at work. I'm at school.
Yep. It's especially useful, and I'll say this is just a little anecdote. I think the only operating system that has done it right, like with the desktops, is Linux/Mac. I would put Mac before Linux even. The experience with like moving from desktops is just so much more flawless. Like every time I try and do it in Windows, it's so stuttery. It just feels so clunky. But anyway, there's my little complaint for you all.
No. That's very apt. Well, let's maybe side shift to let's switch desktops over to Recall. Yeah, Recall. You remember Recall? Do you recall Recall?
I recall.
I was hoping I wouldn't
Recall.
have to recall.
I wish they'd recall.
Is it a recall on recall?
Recall is going to be a thorn in the side of anybody in security. No matter what types of security measures that Microsoft claims that they're putting on there, it is going to have vulnerabilities that are going to be exploited by anybody that can remote into your system.
That's just a pessimistic attitude. Microsoft makes the most secure OS known to man.
Because no one's using DOS anymore.
Before somebody develops an app called Forget.
So
remind me to trademark that, because that's a brilliant name, Mike. We're gonna make Microsoft forget Microsoft. How about that?
We could go Apple's route and put an I in front of it. I forget.
Pretty good.
Don't go I, because that'll get you sued. Go O. O forget.
Oh, forget. Okay.
When you had mentioned that pre-show, I just looked up a little bit of that, because I know we had, I mean, I think we might have even had a couple of podcast episodes about this, a while ago. But I mean, the whole notion of Recall was that it would just take snapshots of your system. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Screenshots is probably a better word for it.
We should probably link that in the description so people can go back and look at those episodes. Artie,
fine.
I volunteer you.
But it's essentially taking screenshots of whatever applications you have open every, so I don't know, whenever. I think they said that now you can adjust how often it is.
3 seconds.
So it's essentially framing out your entire usage of your device. And originally, I mean, there was a huge backlash because it was also, grabbing, like it would, like if you're on your bank account, it's taking all of that information, just anything and everything, and then it was storing them all in just like clear text, like that. And then they're like, oh, it's super secure, it's fine, it's all locally stored. And then I don't know, didn't somebody like crack into it in like an hour? And they're like, yeah,
not even. they gave themselves access to the folder. Within a minute, they had access to everything in clear text. And this was after Microsoft had said it is the best protection. Nobody could ever hack in. One of the researchers got in
Yeah,
and saw.
Microsoft was saying that it's unique to the computer. So if you're logged in on your computer and a different user logs in, they won't be able to access it. And one of the researchers copied it to another computer and was able to access it.
Mm-hmm.
So the myth that the algorithm, that the security algorithm for your session of Windows was tied to it was, I'm not going to say the word because it's family friendly.
Warmed over garbage.
A very well planned and poorly executed fabrication.
Warmed over garbage.
Microwaved.
Microwave garbage. Ooh.
So from what I remember, the initial response from the community was, "This is awful, bad idea." And then Microsoft, took a step back and they didn't release it in the beta, and they didn't, they kind of just put it on the back burner or whatever for a while. But now they're saying, and this is coming from Bleeping Computer, they're saying Microsoft starts final Windows recall testing before rollout. So they're moving forward. And so then everyone wants to know, well, what'd you do to fix it? And let me see if I can find the exact quote here they have. But they're saying that the added their added security is, well, you'll have to opt in to saving snapshots. That was they led with that. Oh, well, you could just opt out of it.
Well, that was actually the number one complaint everybody had. It's like, I'm going to turn on my computer one day and it's literally recording my screen, everything I type, addresses, passwords, journal entries, whatever, constantly, and I don't have a choice on this. I can't even uninstall it.
Mm-hmm. So at least you can opt out of it. But then they say that now all of the images you're required to use or enroll in Windows Hello, and that's like their new security thing. And from what I know, like I have a different laptop that has a fingerprint scanner, and then that lets me use Windows Hello and actually hate it. I wish I'd never set it up. It's actually so annoying. But it feels like they're trying to do their own version of what Apple does with their Touch ID and their facial recognition. But it's just not the same. And then you're putting that, like, my entire digital life security on top of Windows Hello, and I don't know if I trust Windows. I know nothing about it. I have no idea how secure that is. So
it's pretty good, but
I imagine it is. But I mean,
I'll offer the thought: when you're in, you've got access to your files.
Mm-hmm.
If you install malware, you've got access to your files, and the malware you installed, by virtue of you installing it, has access to your files.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's safe.
I do not like the lack of security that seems to come with Hello. And what I mean by that is that I recently had to set up a Windows 11 instance, and it was demanding setting up Hello. Like, you have to set this up now if you want to continue using this computer type of thing.
It's relentless. It's actually so annoying.
So set it up, and I know that you can change it away from this, but it's an involved process. You had to create a PIN code. And, when you go to log in, type in the password, your password isn't the first thing that pops up. It wants you to enter the PIN instead of the password. It's like, why have these
4
two
digits is
different
good
methods?
enough. I mean, 4 digits, how many combinations is that? That's unfathomable. I can't even count that high. Oh, wait.
It just strikes me as a gimmick to make it look more secure when in actuality it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Security theater. But it's an interesting response Microsoft did to if somebody forgets their password, you could use a PIN to unlock your password.
I get that,
Which-
but password should be first. It should not promote PIN above the password as the main login, which on every system that I've had to install 11 on, that's what it goes to. It defaults to the PIN instead of the password that you set up when you created the account.
Well, I'll tell you, it'd be awesome if you could buy a thumb drive, a $10 thumb drive off Amazon. You pop it into the computer and you say, back up my password to this thumb drive. You pull that out, put it in your fire safe or your safe deposit box. You put it offline somewhere. The only people that are going to hack into you at that point are people that live in the same house as you or the occasional thief. It's interesting. We were talking about it. It's almost more secure these days to write your passwords in a little black book than it is to put it in a password keeper. Almost. You set up a password keeper the right way, it's pretty good. But even then, Recall restoring everything. They say they blur out passwords, but that's only for Microsoft certified and Microsoft, follow the rules password entries. If you get some of these third-party apps that have been developed, like Mike, we support systems that are 10 and 20 years old that haven't been redeveloped. They're still running in Windows 95 compatibility mode. Those passwords aren't protected. Recall will recall those.
I also wonder about, like, you get on a web browser, you're typing in passwords there. Like, what is the security that's going to stand in between of that form, that form element, that text box that captures the password that you enter your password into? Because the web browser has to be able to capture that to be able to send the password to the web page. The server then hashes it, authenticates it, whatever it does with it to make sure, that's the right password. Obviously, we're all into using secure HTTP now because that's a mandatory thing now that websites basically have to do that. We get warnings if they don't. But what stands between? Yeah, what stands between the operating system and the browser? I know I'm secure between the browser now and the internet, but what's securing me between the operating system and the browser?
Yeah, and does that even survive compatibility mode?
Right.
They say Recall is just going to put a black box over the password entry fields. So the screen captures don't record it.
So that brings up the question, if you're using a password manager and you forget your password and you've got to type it out, you open up your password manager and it's not a password entry box, it's the password, like you reveal it so that you can type it out. Does that get blacked out? Does that get blocked by Recall?
Does Recall capture the clipboard? I know malware captures a clipboard, and there's some awesome ones out there that try and listen for wallet addresses.
Mm-hmm.
Pro tip, if you're copying and pasting wallets, do it in 2 or 3 chunks, not one. Just in case.
Or just memorize it.
Yeah, Artie, I think you just said exactly what I was going to say. And point
Memorize
two
it.
is
all 256 characters. Okay.
Well, I think you can say that for most other things, though, right? What Recall is a demonstration of people just giving their lives to technology and what I mean by that is like shoot, how can I say this in a way that makes sense? Instead of me taking the responsibility of, okay, I need to memorize my passwords and I need to make sure I keep everything organized and know what's going on, you're just saying, oh, the computer will handle it. I think that's a very bad outlook and kind of habit that we're getting into, is just trusting the technology, because not that you can't, but if you do, then you're also trusting that it's completely, uncrackable, right? Which we know is never the case.
Well, it's safe until it's not.
Right.
The encryption of 10 years ago and 20 years ago, those were rock solid. Now I think my cell phone can crack that stuff.
Now, remind me, I believe I remember the last time we talked about recall, wasn't part of it a feature that it would also index things
Yep.
and make it so that you could do a search like,
Mhm.
I don't know, like, last time I used such and such application or was working on document about such and such.
Yeah.
So that means that it's got to be indexing all that somehow, which to me, that means the addition of metadata, which, we just had our discussions on metadata too, is like with a lot of other software, we see those pop-ups that, the software is going to send anonymized usage data back to headquarters. What's going to be included with that? Is any of the recall data, even if it's anonymized, going to be sent back to Microsoft?
How about the crash dumps?
That too.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if they don't have a little caveat in there when you sign up for it that's saying, yeah, some data is going to be sent back, because that's how they're going to improve the product.
That's already in the EULA for Windows.
Mhm.
That's actually what got Firefox in trouble a couple weeks ago. Is they said everything you should do is now property of Firefox or Mozilla, or the organization that owns all the entities that are involved now own everything you type into the browser. And they had to really walk that backwards. Oh my goodness. The world caught a fire on that.
Mhm.
They had a great idea. They just did not word it properly.
Mm-hmm. Hallelujah, boilerplates.
I think, because it is, it's essentially using AI resources to kind of categorize everything and take the screenshots and black out passwords and stuff. It's using an AI model for that, which is going to be Copilot or some form derivative of Copilot. And, we all know that's the thing, is everyone wants the data from their own AI so that they can train it better and do all this stuff, But I don't think we'll ever get to the point where it's like, okay, it's good enough. We don't need to collect your data. They're always going to want to do that. So there's no escaping it.
You will be one with Microsoft. They will know what you know. They will extort it from you. If not through your brain, through Neuralink, they'll extort it through your desktop. But don't worry. Remember, Windows is the most secure operating system ever. Very few hacks have... Wait.
I mean, if we're talking
I mean, hack...
3.1...
No, there was
something that has no internet connection,
Yeah, the old Macs before command line. Those things were almost unhackable. You put it online, can't get it. Of course, it was a very small market share, but... So how do we know how bad a hack is? Or a vulnerability?
Good
We
old
consult the
CVE.
CISA website and look up the CVEs.
Mike, I'm going to open the door for you. Take us down that rabbit hole.
So I saw the video that John Hammond put out. I watched it this morning. I think he put it out yesterday. That basically said that the funding for CVE was going to end, I believe it was today, starting today,
Yes.
April 16th.
April 16th.
Now everybody knows when we recorded this. Thanks.
Well, that's okay.
For those of you paying attention, put a comment. We'd love to know that today is the day.
CVEs was going to not have any funding. That means that no new, from what I understand, if I understand his video correctly, what he was initially saying is that no new CVEs were going to be added.
Yep.
There would still be an existing database. We could still look up and research, everything up until this point. But with no new CVEs, that's, man, what do you do? I mean, a 0 day happens and I can't tell the world about it, and we can't get researchers on it to figure out how bad and how extensive it is. And
and the organization wasn't going to be able to host anymore. It was going to be hosted on GitHub.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So I'm gonna jump in here. For the less technically savvy that might be watching this, please explain what a CVE is.
so a CVE is
Uh-oh. He's looking it up.
common, just gotta make sure I get the right words. Common vulnerabilities and exposures. Okay. So
Yep.
these are anytime that we find a piece of hardware or a piece of firmware or a piece of software or anything, somebody finds out that it has a vulnerability or leaves data exposed or something like that, it gets reported and it gets sent to get registered as a potential threat, to people using that software, firmware, or hardware, whatever it is that they found it on, right? This gives it an assigned ID number. And most of the CVEs, like you'll go and you'll see the CVE number, and it'll start with the year number, which references the year that it was discovered, and then it has a unique identifier after that. And it's pretty simple. But anytime you say, well, okay, I'm going to talk about CVE 2025 1, 2, 3, 4, everybody can look that up and know what vulnerability you're talking about at that point. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the CVE database. Okay. So yeah, if funding for this, according to Mr. Hammond, is that the US government had been putting funding into this, and the funding was set to expire on April 16th, 2025. The problem is that there was no notice that there's going to be any kind of renewal. And then he also gets into some of the political aspects under the current administration that have probably affected that.
If anybody wants to know the political influences, this is not your podcast. There's others out there that'll talk about that.
Right.
We just deal with we just have to deal with the cleanup.
The fallout.
Fallout sounds more ominous. We'll run with that. Fallout.
And just for the record, CVE 2025 1, 2, 3, 4 is still reserved. It hasn't been assigned anything. So.
Oh, good. I was hoping I picked one that hadn't been used yet.
Oh, it's probably going to be a big one. But here's one of the cool pieces of CVEs. For the layperson out there, they assign a score 1 to 10. Yeah, think of like the Richter scale. A 4.0 earthquake, you can kind of feel that's not that big a deal. A 6.0, you're feeling that. An 8.0, that's
damage.
devastation. You get up to 10, yeah, that's world come undone. There's been a few 10.0. They reserve 10.0s for the very nastiest of vulnerabilities. It's usually when there's a 0-click, no user intervention, full remote access to the device.
And somebody could do it like right now with little effort.
Yep.
Yeah.
To give you an idea,
so when those hit,
things with
all the security guys
recall. some of the potential CVE score for some of the vulnerabilities that they found with recall would be in the upper 9, like 9.8, 9.9. So that should give you an idea of the scary level.
Yeah, usually we'll wait for the CVEs to actually come out once vulnerabilities are found, but usually the 9.0s and above, those require remote access to launch the attack. You gotta be able to wirelessly tap in or somehow send a spam email with a link on it or something that causes all the catastrophe. Pegasus, that software pack for phones, they had 0 days that would infect an iPhone without the user touching anything. You just send a text message, iPhone is cracked.
If you get within a certain, like an infected router's range, you're infected.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find. I found a list of the top CVEs from January of this year. I was looking for one of maybe all time, like over the worst CVEs. But yeah, I mean,
no. Log4j.
That was a big one.
Log4j. Never heard of that.
I don't know where it started, but I think that actually happened in Minecraft. It was discovered. Somebody was trying to figure out how to cause Java to launch an attack on other players inside some of the servers out there. And they stumbled across the most unforeseen exploit ever that gave full command line access to the computers Java was installed.
Yikes.
Yeah, could you imagine playing Minecraft, all of a sudden Notepad pops up and says you're infected? Not a picture, not a website. Notepad itself pops up and types things in. I mean, it looks like you're fully possessed. And that was the nice guy trying to warn people, saying, hey, you have a problem. I mean, that's a true story, guys. Somebody went in and put Notepad saying, if you can read this, you're vulnerable. Update your Java now. But yeah, CVEs. A world without telling us what we do. I mean, that's what we live on, guys. If a CVE comes out of a 9.8 or above, I mean, that's like we're sending text messages to each other saying, watch out. Hey, have you updated? Do you know anybody that's using this?
I mean, it's one of the few things that was like, if it was 9.8 to 10, that there was a news article that I was writing about it. Because, even if it only affects like maybe 10,000 people out there, one of those 10,000 people might see the news article. Because, if it's a router, how many people out there have actually updated their router's firmware?
Yo.
How many lay people out there know how to update their router's firmware? I mean,
well, and I blame
how many people know
on that.
what router's firmware is.
A lot.
I just clicked on the update button, but that's me.
I got an email about the update, and I just clicked on that.
Oh.
Good job, Jackson. That's perfect.
Your router emailed you? Did you just tell me your router emailed you?
Yeah, it emailed me and said it needed an update. So it had a big update button, so I clicked on it, and
now you're safe.
Yeah, I forgot my login, so I asked Recall to tell it to me.
Oh my goodness. I worry about you sometimes, Jackson.
I just like to live life on the edge. That's all.
I love it. It's funny that for the longest time, Windows updates would break computers. And so I lived on the edge saying, I'm going to wait for the world to apply these patches, because I had broken email servers. I had crashed blue screen of death boot loop computers before. So, taking down a whole department in my old company. I was the IT guy. I should know what I'm doing. So when I had to recover 3 or 4 of those events, I just stopped running Windows updates altogether, and I'd run them when I wanted to, not when they push them out. Now, run them. The fix for the break is easier than the hack you will potentially suffer.
Yeah, I think that speaks to something in general, is that when we lose trust in the manufacturers, and I think some of the exploits are so successful because of the lack of trust in the manufacturers. We trust the manufacturers to put out software that's reliable. And granted, maybe it's not going to be 100% reliable all the time, or maybe there's something that was overlooked. So they go back, they find the bugs, they find the flaws, they find the vulnerabilities, and they fix them. But when they push the update out, for a good portion of people, I'm not going to say everybody, but for a good portion of people, it breaks stuff even more. And so then people lose trust in them even more, because they were better off to have not updated. Because having at least a working router as opposed to a brick on my desk is far preferable than having to go out and buy a brand new router,
Or even consider a situation like with recall. Sometimes it's even features like, they'll push a feature that's, just starts working maybe when you don't want, like recall. And so all of those things add up to people just stopping running updates.
Right.
Well, and it doesn't help that the manufacturers of these things default no updates. Like if that checkbox was checked during the initial setup, the majority of people would just leave it checked.
In a lot of cases on my Windows updates, there'll be the required security updates that I try to run as often as I see them and make those updates. But then I notice there'll also be like optional experience updates. And in general, I try to ignore those, because if that's something that's just being pushed on me to change the way my desktop looks or how some behaves, or add a new application I'll probably never use, I'll skip it. I'm only concerned about the absolute required functionality of my operating system.
Well, and that's what we're talking about with CVEs. It will tell us where the vulnerability is. It will tell the researchers where they need to build their fixes. It'll tell us, is this something I care about? Is this something that the outside world can hack into? Or is this something that, it tells us where it's coming from and how bad it is.
And MITRE.org, the organization that handles the CVEs, the one that was going to be losing funding, they didn't lose funding. They got a 11th hour reprieve.
Good.
But unsure how long that's going to last. Don't know yet. That's
about an hour.
But if you go there and search for a specific CVE, like looking for Log4j, you can go in there, look up that specific CVE, and in the information below, it's going to tell you what was taken, what steps were taken to fix that, how to remediate it on your own if there are no official solutions yet. If there's no patch for it, you can find out how to basically fix it. What is it? A workaround.
Right, workarounds. Or otherwise really, mitigate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ways to mitigate.
It's really that central. Go ahead. I got a delay on my headset, guys. I apologize.
Ways to mitigate the problems that are there, and it comes from either the company itself or other security researchers that have found a way to address it that haven't been officially released by the company before a patch. Or if there's no patch coming, they will tell you, yes, this is an end-of-life device, and there is no patch coming from the people that created it. Here are some workarounds from some security researchers, but we highly recommend getting a different device. Stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of A lot of advantage to having a central database that everybody reports the knowledge to the second they know about it. I mean, could you imagine if let's roll back. McAfee, Kaspersky, Norton, they all had their own independent lab testing and validating viruses to see how bad was. They weren't talking together. They would talk together, but some researcher would discover something, and only a few hours later did they share that with somebody else. There's a lot of advantage to having a central authority on this.
And a big thing about the CVE system is it's not just based in one country. It is a worldwide effect that they have. So it might be
CrowdStrike
largely
proved
funded
that.
by the U.S. government right now, but they are now looking for other means of keeping themselves supported to keep this system going, because it really affects global infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
and it affects
I
everyone.
made that joke, CrowdStrike. I don't want to dump on them too hard. They did pretty good. They took out half the planet, but that company of, whatever size it is, fixed the world in a very short period of time. I mean, that was an impressive thing. The fact that they're still a company today is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I
Sure,
mean,
they're
that's
gonna
one of those things it'll be in the history books forever.
Mhm.
The fabled CrowdStrike outage.
Where were you when the CrowdStrike hit?
Not flying on an airplane, thank goodness.
You land, you can't get off the plane because the door won't open because computer crashed. It's actually really cool, that whole story. So CrowdStrike, for everybody that doesn't know, is an antivirus and threat mitigation system. They put out a bad patch that broke computers. There's different security levels inside the computer, and this has kernel level, which is the most sacred part of the operating system. Microsoft was forced to give them access. Based on that, the boot loop where it blue screens? CrowdStrike was able to get in and push an update across the internet to those machines that were blue screened.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy.
I mean, that's technology we should cultivate. That's not technology we should shut down. For the good guys, at least.
Right.
What time are we at, Artie?
We are nearing pumpkin time.
Cool. Well, before this chariot turns back into its pumpkin, what's your final thought on this, Jackson?
On all of it, all together.
On all of it.
Oh man, you got to trust your computer. Don't trust your computer. That's all I got for you.
Trust but verify.
Trust the updates. Don't trust anything else.
Keep a handgun near it just in case it starts talking to you.
Exactly. No, that's all. That's all I got for you.
Yeah, it's words of wisdom. How about you, Mike? Do you got any parting thoughts?
Not really. Just stay safe out there. Just keep an eye on those emails. The email thing, yes, the emails are getting craftier and craftier. I was really, back in the day, it was like it just dumbfounded me why scammers didn't take more time and effort to make an email look legitimate. There's so many glaring, obvious errors. And it's like, guys, if you just did like 2 minutes worth of research, you could fix this. Well, I didn't ever say that out loud, but somebody caught on quick and, decided, hey, if I did 2 minutes extra research, I can make it look legitimate. We just reviewed an email for a customer earlier today, and initially it does look semi-legit, but yeah, you have to look really close at the email addresses. In that case, there are basically 3 different domains used in links and addresses, and no 2 of them wind up to match. Like, why is a nonprofit having something to do with capital venture and capitalism? And what does this have to do with just a mail service? And like, it just, none of it matched up. It made sense. And it's like, you have to just tell a person, like, yeah, it's probably a scam because it doesn't meet the narrative. It doesn't fit the narrative. Like, it doesn't make sense.
So venture capital is getting into nonprofits now?
Yeah, something like that. Like, the nonprofit was, I had to just do like a quick Google search on the company for that domain.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically gave me a summary. It says, yeah, it's like an organization for nonprofits. And why I mean nonprofits is like deliberately said, like, for churches and schools. And it didn't really say anything else, like churches and school. Like, that's a pretty narrow group of nonprofits. And I don't think that this other company has it. I'm like, yeah, it's probably a scam. So yeah, it's gonna suck, because if it starts getting to the point where we have to look at an email and we have to spend 5 minutes analyzing it to figure out if it's real, that's gonna really just start turning people off to email. I mean, it's already bad enough that our email boxes get so flooded with just all the solicited advertising. You know, it's
Yep.
spam, but it's not spam. It's just spam. It's just, hey, buy my product, and
It's an interesting time we live in. I think I'll rip off a phrase. We're going to use AI to solve a problem that was created by AI.
yeah.
Isn't that the entire plot of Terminator?
I so hope that stays fiction. Artie, I'll let you wrap this one up.
Well, just stay safe out there, everybody. We like to think that the internet is a very civilized place, but it is still very much a wasteland that we have to traverse to get anywhere in our lives these days. So stay safe.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to think that it's something like Star Trek, when in actuality it's something like Mad Max.
Mad Max Trek.
Mm.
So
Isn't
stay
that
safe
Firefly?
out there, everybody.
Anyway. Till next time, I'm John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
And for today, I'll be Max.
Take care.